I just can't. There are so many memories that are still there, and it's just really intense. My parents went through so many sacrifices for me that one of the reasons why I really love the Philippines, because you guys just accepted us. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of
What's Up Philippines? Today we are finally reacting to a video that has been so immensely highly requested. It's been requested on our main channel, it's been requested on this channel, it's been requested on Instagram. Somebody even sent me a postcard requesting this reaction video. So today, finally, we get around to film this video and we read your comments.
Yes.
So, despite what you were telling us in the first video, not to press stop on the video and react, today we're gonna press stop on the video when we react.
Yeah, so we read a few comments and got
a few hundred comments.
Thank you for that, we appreciate it. We're still a young channel, 1 month old. But we're pretty new to this reaction thing, so
yeah. And don't get us wrong, we highly appreciate you giving us feedback. It would
and
be
it was
worse.
Constructive feedback.
Yeah, exactly,
really
exactly.
Good. So we are going to press pause when there is something that we have to say, and it's like, you know, we don't want to like us talking and the video talking. So.
But at the same time, you need to figure out how to do it, because when we press pause, you know, we need to know at which place we press pause when we're rewatching the video, because it's complicated.
It's complicated. But we also decided if we do reacting to music or dances or anything, that we're not going to press pause because it would take the magic out.
We need to take it by video, depending on like the necessity.
Anyways, I think you haven't told the people out there what we're reacting to.
Yes, that's your job.
Oh, really? We are reacting to An Open Door, and it's a documentary about how Filipinos took in Jews. So, to be quite honest with you guys, I have been avoiding this video despite you sending me the messages, just because I have a history of being a refugee. And that's also the reason why I get really emotional about, you know, you guys accepting us here in the Philippines that much. And yeah, I think it's going to be a video that will be touching for me. I think I can also relate to a few things. But Mike's dad has also history in being
as a baby.
Yeah. So we both can somehow relate.
Yeah, and I always seek refuge in candy.
Yes.
And awkward jokes.
He does.
All right, shall we jump into this video?
Yes.
All right. Boing. An Open Door.
To the park nearby, and we would, by the time we were 5, we would see benches that would say, "Dogs and Jews not allowed."
Whoa.
And couldn't quite understand what all this was about.
I was also 5 years old.
When Hitler came to power in 1933, I was 2 years old. And my father, being the chairman of the Socialist Party in Cologne, which was one of the 2 parties that opposed the Nazis, the Communist Party being the other one, was accused by the Nazis of having murdered 2 Nazis.
In
that's
my mind, concentration camp, I knew it was a terrible place and we would most likely be killed there. So it was fear, terrific fear.
When she said that with the bench, it's so crazy because it used to be in South Africa. There used to be like this whole thing as well
With the apartheid.
with the apartheid. So you know, it's crazy.
And we started hiding.
We were told that there was basically a man in government who was an anti-Semite and who was very antagonistic towards the Jews.
Okay, quick break. So, just a quick throwback to my childhood. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. So one day, my mom told us that we have to leave the house, and she basically just packed pictures of my childhood, all necessary documents, and she told me that we have to leave and we had to separate from my dad, and I had no idea what was going on. So being a child when this all happens is really tough. I had no idea what was happening, so this is really intense.
We'd take the train home, and very often there were kids waiting for us, older kids, as we came out of the train station, and they started running after us 8 kids and throwing stones at us and calling us dirty Jews. So I became a very fast runner.
In 1937, a group of Nazis came to the door with a German shepherd and wanted to see about the Jewish books. And my dad had quite a library. The dog frightened me terribly. It was a big police dog. And they took the books. There were a fair amount of Jews living in that apartment house. They took all these books, took them into the backyard of the apartment building, and there was a whole pyre that was built and basically burned all those books.
Intense. Quick break. So for us it wasn't books, for us it was our house. So the house where I grew up was burnt down, and there was no way back. So my mom and I made our way to the train station, and I think this part will also be in this video, so I'm going to save it for that part. But yeah, it's tough when memories get burnt.
They took the German citizenship away from my mother, my father, and myself. So now we were stateless.
My dad was arrested, and was arrested in the Breslau Town Hall. My mother told me that, told my brother and I that my dad was away on a trip, on a business trip. Really never divulged that he had been arrested, and but cried bitterly, and we couldn't understand why she was crying.
My father was
That's
told
so tough.
by the Nazis that he had to get rid of all his houses. He could only take 100 marks out.
With the implementation of the Nuremberg laws and depriving all German Jews of their German citizenship, this that enabled then the government to confiscate businesses, to confiscate homes, to appropriate all their assets. It was not a physical extermination, but it was a social annihilation, because it annihilated their place in the social fabric of German society and treated them as non gratis, as foreign enemies living amongst society.
Okay, so I think we learned about this at school. In Austria, you actually learn about the World War and all the Nazi history, which is really important. And the part where she said that her dad got taken away or arrested, I had the same experience. My dad was actually hiding from the... so just as background story, I'm from Bosnia, and we had civil war, which it was the former Yugoslavia, and then the Serbs started attacking Bosnia, and my dad was hiding actually from the Serbs, so he can survive. We had to separate because we couldn't go as a family together, and then he got captured in one of the so-called concentration camps, and he never talked about that, never, and it was really something that I wasn't aware of. So yeah, that's very similar to the story of her mom.
My father's family left Germany in 1939, so it was late. And in fact, my father's uncle, Walter, with whom he was very close, was actually taken by the Nazis and killed in a concentration camp. They were well-educated German Jews who believed that this was not going to affect them.
When we got this telephone call, we packed our bags, we left within an hour, and all of our furniture, everything else, pots, pans, dishes, whatever was in the kitchen, we left behind.
Yeah.
And we never went back there.
I thought any minute they're going to stop the cars and send us off to a concentration camp.
A new law came out that German Aryans were not to go to Jewish physicians or not be treated by Jewish physicians anymore. And then my father realized that the time is up and he should better start looking around for another country to take him.
It's crazy that this was backed up by law. So it was not, it was like, I don't know. Crazy, yeah.
When we boarded the ship, it was a bit exciting for me. It was sort of an adventure, and I felt somewhat secure. I had my brother there, I had my parents there. I know I was going to a new country, but it was somewhat exciting.
Okay, here comes the Philippines part.
Quezon, like most Filipinos, was Catholic, and yet he developed an affinity for Jews because he felt that there was a sort of a symbolic brotherhood between Filipinos and Jews. That is, that as the Filipinos were the recipients of racial discrimination and bigotry on the part of many Americans at that time, that the Jews were similarly the recipients of bigotry by the Nazis. And so even though Quezon had extremely important and critical political and economic issues to wrestle with at this time, he was willing to take a stand to help the Jews.
Which was very brave for that time.
My father applied to the Philippines, but didn't know at all where it was, what it was. All he knew was it was somewhere in the Pacific. So he looked up his encyclopedia, which was published in 1898.
But then it was just books, right?
And he read that this was an island discovered, or set of islands, 7,000 islands discovered by Magellan. It's under the Spanish crown. Spanish was the national language. So naturally, we immediately started studying Spanish.
When we got to the Philippines and we're staying in the boarding house where there are all sorts of different people, Filipinos, mestizos, Caucasians, etc., to me, there was never any distinction. To me, they were all people.
Okay, that is something that is very true. We've been living in the Philippines for quite some time, and I think we can both agree that we don't feel treated differently here.
sometimes you do get treated differently, but I wouldn't say differently in a bad way. Just sometimes sometimes we start forgetting that there is some. We feel like so integrated into the country
but it's
already.
like you come to the Philippines and you are immediately part of a bigger family, I would say, and they just give you this like big hug. How do you say? Mentally speaking. So it is something that makes you feel welcome straight away, which is very different from other experiences during this time.
To this day, I feel that way. But it was never a distinction to me.
And I was very impressed because we rode up Dewey Boulevard into Pasay, and it's a lovely beach, lovely beaches, beautiful banana trees, and there were the polo grounds, I remember.
One of the things we did fairly often was go to the movies, and there were half a dozen good movie theaters in the Philippines, the Lyric, the Ideal, the Gaiety Theater. I would say we probably went to the movies maybe once every couple of weeks.
The games that we played was mostly Sipa. Sipa is, it's a round metal thing with strips of paper, I believe, and you kick it with your leg. And the one who could kick it the most, of course, was the winner. When you saw how the doors were basically closed to all of us except the Philippines, and how the Filipino people are a very warm people.
Yeah.
They're a very friendly people.
Okay, another throwback. I love how vividly she can think of that moment when they actually came to the Philippines and has like these memories, how do you say, printed into her brain. It's like it's always there. And I think I told you this story several times about my experience with the banana.
Yeah.
Funny story. You want to tell it?
No.
Sorry guys, it's mostly me speaking today because I have a lot of points to relate to. So when we left, we actually went into the train, which was a Güterzug?
A freight train.
Yeah, a freight train, not a normal train. So we were like sitting like this in the train. Then we had to walk for, I don't know, several miles next to landmines, and we couldn't stop anywhere. So I had to, or like my mom had to feed me. And the only way to feed me constantly without having the hassle of going somewhere or, beg for food or whatever, was to give me milk powder that she packed in her bag. So I was basically drinking milk powder for weeks, and it was gross to a certain point where I'm like, I don't want to eat this anymore. And then one day we arrived at a town where we went to, I don't know if it was a market or there was some guy approaching us and giving us a banana. So I was so happy about this banana. That was the happiest day of my life. After several days of not knowing what was going on and eating milk powder, I had this banana and I took the first bite and I was the happiest girl on earth. And I remember this moment still in my brain, although I was just 5 years old. It was the best moment of my life. Eating a banana. It's the small things.
We learned Filipino songs, and there were quite a few performances.
It's nice that
Art
they're
was very important.
got so integrated.
And Filipinos have very, very good voices.
Yes, they have good voices, that's true. Filipinos love to sing.
My father spoke often of his Filipino friends and recounted things that were these small moments, but clearly moments that for him were all about friendship and happiness, and something that was very lighthearted.
I think we can relate to the light-hearted.
As we were sleeping in the middle of the
Smiling
night,
faces.
the house was shaking as if there was an earthquake. Everybody woke up. So we ran outside and stood in the street while the houses were shaking. But there were these large booms, booms, booms. Turned out that we were being bombarded by the Japanese.
Oh,
We had daily air raids. They were awful.
oh my God. Crazy. I was dreaming about war.
It was groups
Few
of
weeks
four,
ago,
four,
and
and
it was
four,
not
which you could barely see.
A pleasant
Exceedingly well
experience at
trained.
all.
And of course, they bombed at random, and it was a very frightening experience.
Shortly thereafter, all of our friends that were either American, Canadian, British, or French, which were the Allies, enemies of the Japanese, were rounded up by the Japanese and interned at San Tomas.
The irony of this is that these refugee Jews from Germany and Austria who had passports identifying them as German Jews are not arrested by the Japanese. The Japanese don't care if they're Jewish. They have a German passport. That means that they are an ally, and they are not arrested, and they are not interned or incarcerated.
Wow. Crazy. So they went from fleeing from Germany and Austria to being bombarded in the Philippines. So the Philippines has a very rich culture. History-wise, it has gone through a lot, and this is actually very this is like seeing history from another side for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Scenes of like visuals
Yeah.
from that moment.
I really did not want to leave. That was my home. That was all that I knew. I was there from the time I was 7. I was there for almost 9 years. And that was my home.
That's also the same for us. When we say
For
Philippines
me,
is
the
home, we mean it.
Philippines, it may not be my motherland, but my adopted motherland.
Yes, that's how we feel.
Because if it had not been for it, I would not be the person that I am now.
Roosevelt and Churchill saved Western civilization. But Quezon, and so few people know that, President Quezon of the Philippines saved 1,200 Jewish souls, as many as Schindler, maybe even more. And that is the epitome, basically, of Judaism. It says if you save one soul, you save mankind.
Yeah. Wow.
Very intense. We should take the time to watch the whole movie. This was
Yeah.
just the trailer, so what a great piece of art.
Yeah.
We need to, feel blessed that we don't live in a time and age where we need to go through things like this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are still places on planet Earth where people are going through the same kind of thing, which is very sad. This is, I'm really looking forward to watching the whole documentary because just the trailer itself, you learn so many new things and
Yeah.
very, very intense.
Here's an interesting fact. I can't watch war movies anymore. Like every time Mike sees a movie that comes out, he's like, hey, let's watch this movie. I'm like, nah, I can't. I just can't. There are so many memories that are still there. And it's just really intense. And I've never talked about this on our channel or like in general. But it is there. And it has been a traumatizing experience, knowing that my dad was in a concentration camp, that he was tortured. And later, when I was older to understand what was going on, I actually read a book about what happened during the war in Bosnia, and I was crying. I was crying when I read the book because I understood what my dad was going through, and my parents went through so many sacrifices for me that I feel really thankful for everything and where I am in life right now. And that's also one of the reasons why I really love the Philippines, because you guys just accepted us. And not that Mike and I are refugees, but for me, like having this history of coming to Austria and going through like the phase of being the foreign kid was not always pleasant. We had a lot of people who helped, but let's say not everybody was accepting, not everybody was welcoming. So that's why I feel very comfortable here in the Philippines. That's why I call it home, and that's why I get emotional when I talk about things about, you know, living here and you guys, or like Filipinos in general, embracing us and making us feel like we're part of their family. So yeah, sorry, that was just I'm sobbing. That was just something that I wanted to talk off my chest. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being kind. Thank you so much for being generous. Thank you so much for sharing your food with us, you know, even though it's sometimes during times that are tough. It's just, it's an incredible gesture. Thank you for being so welcoming. Sorry, I think I need a tissue.
All right, guys. Thank you for this reaction video, for sending us this video.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this vlog, be sure to, in this reaction video, give it a thumbs up. And you want to see some more upbeat content, check out our other reaction videos.
There are a lot of fun upbeat vlogs.
And also our main channel, Making It Happen vlog, which will pop up right here.
Yes.
We'll see you guys the next time here on What's Up Philippines. Bye-bye.